everyone, and welcome to episode 26 of the YarnderWoman podcast. My name is Melinda. I am YarnderWoman on Instagram and Ravelry, and today is Saturday the 1st of August 2015. I am coming to you as always from Perth in Western Australia. We've got a lovely Ravelry group, so come and join if you haven't already, and you can find all the show notes as well as links to everything I talk about at www.yarnderwoman.blogspot.com.au. I hope you've had a great couple of weeks since we last saw each other. I had a lovely time because the last time we met was the night before my birthday. I had a lovely birthday and I want to thank everyone so much for all the wishes that you sent me via Instagram and Ravelry, and it really made my day. So thank you very much to everyone. And you'll see some more lovely things coming up in acquisitions and spin me right round on that topic. For now though, I've got quite a bit to show you today, so let's go and broach the subject. So today's brooch is by Creep Heart. This is the backing board that the brooch was on. Creep Heart is the company that had a stall next to Damien's art stall at the Perth Supernova Comic Con a few weeks ago, so I have shown this previously on its backer. This one is the Bat Familiar design, and this was the very first one that I fell in love with. Creep Heart have so many beautiful designs. I got 3 as I showed you previously, but this is just stunning because her bat wings are reflective, so those spots there that you can see and that were on the close-up earlier, the holes in the back of my music stand. But I just love it. I think it's just stunning, gorgeous design, like her little outfit, and the reflective wings. I really love it. And it goes so nicely with this colour scheme, I believe, in my opinion. And I'll just pop up so I can show you my t-shirt. So it's yarn like pirate, but with the yarn ball and the knitting needle skull. So lots of fun to wear this. And I will of course put the links to Creep Heart in the show notes. They do deliver internationally. They're an Australian company, but from Brisbane, the other side of Australia in the northeast. But they do international deliveries on their mail order. So I'll put the links there and I very much recommend them. I've been working almost exclusively on just a couple of patterns for the last couple of weeks, so there's some of my whips that I won't be showing you today because I haven't done any work on them. But one thing I have been working on a lot is my sailing shawl. That's the picture there. Sailing is by Meg Gadsby, who is Atelier Yarns, who's also one of our prize donors for our cowl that I'll be talking about later. So she very kindly gifted me this pattern a few weeks ago and I've been working on that. So this is where I'm up to. So it's the sort of shawl that starts out skinny and then gradually gets wider and wider on the bias. So this is the width I'm up to now, but it will get smaller on one side as it gets longer on the other. So you get this curved effect like a sail, which I assume is part of the reason of the name of the pattern. So this is, I'll hold it up so you can see the yarn. Beautiful colours. I do have the tag this week somewhere. Here we go. This is Jinx Yarns, the single merino base. I've had this for a little while because this is the old label. The new label of Jinx has a little cartoon of Laura with her blue hair. It's very cute, so this is an older one. The colourway is Blood Plus. It's 100% superwash merino and it's in this single ply. So here it is here, single ply. And it's really beautiful, very soft. When I was choosing a yarn from my stash to use for this pattern, I really wanted to do a single ply because I liked how it knit up in a previous project I did, which was the Knit Night Shawl, which was also in a single Jinx merino. So this is it here. So the stitch pattern is really quite easy to memorize. It's very clever the way it's done, but it's easy. So I've been using this as my commute knitting on the bus and train. And this week I attended a 3-day leadership seminar and I was very pleased that I was able to do a bit of knitting during some of the presentations. I personally, don't see that it's a problem to be knitting in places, but, in work environments, but I can't often do it at my workplace. It just doesn't, my usual work is not something where I'm just sitting listening. But for the seminars, I think it was really good. Now, the ladies from the Teach Your Brain to Knit podcast, I want to guess maybe episode 11 or 12, but I'm not sure. They had a discussion about how the part of your brain where knitting happens is the part of your brain that can wander off when you're, doing something. So by actually knitting while you're doing something else actually helps you to focus, because your brain is, or your mind is kept in the place that it's supposed to be. So other people at the presentation were, sitting, looking at their emails on their phone, scrolling, looking at Facebook. That's just a bit rude, because you're not even facing the presenter. Whereas I was able to sit and knit a bit slowly, I will add, because I can knit without looking, but it's slower than when I look. But I figured, hey, knitting is knitting, doesn't matter how fast or slow I'm going. And I was able to engage still. I was one of the few people to actually be asking questions and making comments, which I like to do anyway, because I hate it when poor presenters are up there and no one talks to them, and it's like, are any of you alive? Anyone? Because, having done presentations, I know how horrible that can be when that happens. So anyway, my point being, I've got quite a bit of knitting done on this for the last couple of weeks, and I'm really liking how it's going. Now, you may have noticed just then, I showed you just this little bit of yarn. Now, I've still got quite a few repeats to go. I do have more yarn, but I had a knot issue. So this is the rest of my ball. That green yarn is some that I tied on, because when I first got this skein, which I said was a while ago, I unraveled a little bit of it because I wanted to put some of that yarn in my Cozy Memories blanket, my mitered square blanket. And so I then retied it with this green yarn. And I don't know what happened, if I tangled it then or if I tangled it when I got it out this time to wind it, but it's, yeah, in a knot now. So, that bit's clear. It's just there that it gets a bit more yucky. So what I did, I wound it as much as I could, and then I just had to cut it, because when I was winding it, it was just driving me mad. And I thought, doesn't matter, I've got enough, I'll just start. So I'll keep going till that runs out, and then I'll have to attack this, depending on how much I need. If I have to keep cutting it, hopefully I'll have a big enough piece to finish off the shawl. And then if I have to keep cutting it, I might just cut it in smaller amounts, and I can use it for both my square blanket and also to send to people, because, if I can cut it off in, 3 to 5 gram lots, then that's enough for a square, and I won't have to worry about all of it. So that's work in progress number 1. And before I show you work in progress number 2, this is the bag that number 1 is living in. So it's by Sunshine Yarn Fun, who are also a prize donor for our cowl, so I'll talk about that shortly. This was the one made for me, so it's a lovely fan, and it's got the Japanese inspired print and the great polka dots inside. So that's that one. Now, whip number 2 is living in what I think is my very first little skein in the big ball bag. So I've had this for several years, and it's so cute. It's Little Red Riding Hood, just very funky sort of vintage fabric, and I think somewhere at the bottom there's the wolf having a look, but I just love it. I love the little lamb. And it's got very cool gingham fabric inside. So what's being housed in here? This is the Typhoon Shawl. So I showed you that last week as one of my acquisitions. It was a very kind gift sent to me. And this is my progress so far. And of course I'm in the middle of a row, when usually I never finish things in the middle of the row, but of course I have today. Never mind. So that's the separation there. So I'll just take you across. If I'm showing you the back, that's the back. So here's the front. So the fun thing about this pattern is you use one solid yarn and one self-striping yarn, and then short rows. So you get these blocks of colour from the self-striping. Sorry that it's halfway through, I didn't realise. I'll show you my 2 yarns first, and then I'll talk more about the project. So my solid colour is the red, and this is by Vine Yarns, and it's in the colourway Hemingway's Ball on her Lush base, and it's stunning, stunning red. That's pretty representative, a little bit lighter because of the artificial light on it, but pretty representative of the colour. Gorgeous tonal red with the ever so slightly different variations in the tone. Gorgeous! And then the self-striping yarn I'm using is this black and purple one, and that's from White Birch Fibre Arts in the colourway Emo Enough. But you've got to say it right, don't you? Emo Enough? So, and that's on the 80/20 merino nylon base, and that's it there. So it's sort of cut off. I was thinking, I don't think it's giving too much away from the pattern to say that you don't carry the yarn up the side, you just cut your colours in between the stripes. So, as you can see, this is how it's knitting up. It's just, I think the colours really go nicely together. I'm loving it. So you have your red, my red, and you can see there the subtle variations in the tones of the red. Again, I'm showing you the back. And then I've got the lovely variation within the self-striping yarn. So White Birch Fibre Arts I've used before, so you may remember that the gradation in each of the stripes of the self-striping goes through the colours. So you can see that purple goes darker to lighter to darker again. Black does a little bit of variation, but not quite as much because it's a darker colour. But I really love this. This pattern is so interesting, the way it uses the short rows, and you get to experience those chunks of colour in a different way. So the Stockinette Zombies, as I mentioned last week, are doing a Not a Sock self-striping knit-along, or something like that. It's like NASCAL or something, because there's lots of S's. But so that's where I initially got this idea for the pattern, and then I was so generously given it. And I'm really, really enjoying it. It's great fun to work through all the it's the self-striping, but with the short rows. And I think the colours are very, very fun together. So you can really go to town and have as many different combinations as you like, depending on what your self-striping was like. So I think there's definitely plans in my future for other versions of these using different self-stripings. So the stitch markers I'm using are from Little Skein, and a couple of weeks ago these were some that my niece Emma was showing when she was going through them all, but here we go. This is from one of the tea time sets from Little Skein, so it says tea time on there on the little kettle or the teapot, and then the other ones are with a grey bead because I got the Earl Grey set, and you can see some of them, like that one, a matte grey, and that one's more of a shiny grey over here. Knitting these on 80 sock crockets, I think they are. And I've been having a lot of fun with that. So 2 weeks in progress, but I did finish something that I showed you last time. So let's go and have a look at finished objects. My first FO, yes, first, there's more than one. This is something that only took me under a couple of weeks to knit, which was quite quick for me in a shawl because I was pretty monogamous to it, and that is my trickle shawl. So it's turned out quite big, so I have to lean back. So you can see in the middle there, the trickle section, and that goes down to the base. And then it's a heart-shaped shawl, so you actually block it. So rather than it being straight across like a crescent or a triangle, the wings, if you like, go up to a point, and that's like your point of your shawl. Love it, love it, love it. It was a really fun pattern to knit. It went really quickly. The pattern is called the Trickle Shawl, as I said, and that's by Jennifer Lasson, who also goes by Boston Jen and the Downseller Studio podcast. She is running a knit-along for this, and you just have to use the hashtag Trickle Shawl, and that is your entry, so you don't even have to finish the project. And she also has some kits, I think, through Infinite Twist, and there's some additional prizes for that. So check out her podcast for more details on that if you're interested. But I really recommend the pattern. It was, as I said, very simple, but very, very clever. And I found the way it was written made it seem to go quicker. As I said, I know I was working on it a lot, so obviously the more you work on something, the quicker it goes. That's how time works. But the way it was sort of laid out in the blocks, it was like you got to a block and went, oh, there's not that many rows to do that, etc., etc. Of course, as you know, you went along, the rows got bigger, but that's okay. Lovely edging stitch for the beginning of each row. I did a different cast on than what was described because I almost ran out of yarn. I actually had knit what I thought was going to be my last row before cast off, and then realised I wouldn't have enough to cast off. And I thought I could either, you know, knit another row to cast off in another colour, and I actually started casting off in a plain black yarn, and it just, the colours matched the black, but it didn't look right with the look of the shawl. So I actually unpicked and unknit. Is it tinked back? Yes, tink, the backward spelling of knit. Tinked back the whole last row to then cast off again, but I figured, so it didn't bother me that much, because if I had, you know, knit another row to cast off in a different colour, I still would have been spending that time, so I thought I'd rather spend the time tinking it back to then cast off in the same yarn. That was a very long-winded story, wasn't it? I hope you were fascinated the whole time. I love the yarn I chose. These are definitely my colours, as you know. This is Gnome Acres yarn, and it's in the Harley Quinn colourway. Harley Quinn being, of course, one of my favourite comic book characters. DK weight, this is the, 80-10-10 merino cashmere nylon. So recommend this base. It is lovely and squishy. Beautifully soft with the cashmere, but the merino itself is so soft, and it just, the drape is beautiful. As I mentioned last week, I initially cast on and knit about 40 rows in a needle size that was not the right gauge to get this drape. So I'm very glad that I unpicked, because look how that just flows. So nice. Very, very squishy and warm. It's great having these long arms and you can wear it back. Haven't actually worn it out yet, because since I finished it, it's gotten a little bit warmer here. You know, relatively speaking, it was a balmy 13 degrees Celsius when I left the house the other day, but that was too warm to be wearing a scarf and a hat and gloves. I was actually stripping off layers as I was walking to the bus. So I hope, as much as I don't want it to be really cold, I hope I get to wear this at least once during the winter before it, you know, becomes too warm. But either way, it's finished and I love it. So that's my first finished object. And my second finished object is this little guy. So he's someone I showed you last week, or last episode. He was just a body then. Now he's got a face and stuffing. He's a real boy. Anyway, this is a free pattern off Ravelry. I can't remember off the top of my head who the designer is, but it will be in my Ravelry project page. So he is knit with Knit Picks worsted. Let me check the label. This is Swish worsted. There we go. This is the lava heather. That's what I used for his face. So I believe this colour is called Squirrel Heather, and that's the same brand though. And then his coat is made, I don't have that tag, but this is the ball. It's Query Fibre Arts on Etsy, and this colourway is called All the Crayons in the Box, and it's just beautiful. And I knit a little scarf separately. I've just got a T-pin in there because I changed how I wanted to how I wanted to style him. So I'm going to be sewing the scarf on so it doesn't come off. I think he's very cute. The mouth came out a bit funny because I had to go back over it, but I figured it kind of looks like a moustache as well, but going the opposite way. So I'm hoping that that works as being cute and not silly. I did French knots for the eyes and then just long stitches across to do the mouth. This was originally going to be a Christmas present for a friend's child, and then I was going to do 2 extras because she has 3 children, but I'm not sure that I want to do that now. I liked doing the project, but I didn't love it, and the prospect of making more at this stage anyway, it's not high on my list of priorities, so I don't want to put pressure on myself to have to do 2 more. I've got some other ideas for the kids' presents. But I do have another idea of what to do with this little guy, and that's give him to charity. So there's a charity that I know of through my work that is for a women's shelter. So not many people know where the shelter is because it's a protected location, because unfortunately the women and children who need to use the shelter need to be protected. But we donate a lot of toiletries because often the people who find themselves there, and it is for women only, and my point of mentioning that is that domestic violence does not just affect women. Men can be the victims as well, but percentage-wise, women are more commonly the victims of domestic violence. And this is a shelter for women and children. And our work donates a lot of toiletries and that sort of thing, because every person who arrives there is given a little pack, because sometimes, unfortunately, all they've got literally the clothes on their back because they've had to leave so suddenly. But I figured this would be a good present for a little baby, because it's all safe, like there's no buttons or anything. The pin won't be in there anymore. I thought this might be a good present for a little baby. And then charity knitting got me thinking, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my thoughts in the next segment, which is knit-alongs. So knit-alongs, we've just wrapped up the Opposites cowl, which we're running in conjunction with Sally Jane of the Pink Hair Girls Knits podcast, and I'll talk more about that in just a moment. But in regards to this little guy and charities, I had a thought that maybe for the next couple of months we could run a charity knit-along or crochet-along. My thoughts are that lots of people are already doing a lot of charity knitting. Some people might like to do more. I know I certainly like to do more than I do. Other than this guy, I haven't done any for quite a few months. I think the most recent ones I did was some washcloths and hats for, again, Sally Jane and Rachel Swims, or Rachel, for their Burns Unit charity knit-alongs. So my thoughts are, we could have a thread, one for chatting about ideas for the charity knit-along or just chatting about projects. One thread for finished objects, and that could be things that you knit that you're going to donate to charity. And then one thread where you can state if you've bought a pattern where the money from that purchase goes to charity. So for that particular thread, you wouldn't have to post a finished item. It would just be posting to make the statement that you've bought a pattern. So for example, Kay and Dan from the Bakery Bears have the handbrake cowl pattern, and money for that one goes to cancer research. There's also, I think it's called Sink Mates. It's a dishcloth pattern, and I believe the money for that goes to the Special Olympics. Sally Jane is going to be releasing a pattern soon called Phoenix, and the money for that will go towards buying toiletry packs for the Burns unit at the Children's Hospital in South Africa that Rachel, who's Rachel Swims, and Sally Jane support, and they did a great collection recently earlier in the year, and they're going to continue to do that. So it's not anything where I would expect to see a receipt or evidence. I think if people are doing charitable works and donating their time, money, their yarn, I think everyone's going to be honest about it. You know, I don't think anyone would try and win a prize by lying about things they've done for charity. No one's like that. So in the thread about pattern purchasing, you can just post, I bought the XYZ pattern. It doesn't have to be that you've just bought it now for this knit-along. It can be you already bought it. And as I said, I'm not going to check your library, you know. So that is there. So that's one option. So that's there. So you can still support a charity, or more than one. So if you buy 3 different patterns where money goes to 3 different charities, you post 3 times, one for each pattern. That's way people can still support a charity if they want to, but they may not have a time to commit to making something for charity. So that way the option is still there. You're still supporting charities through financial reasons. You can post there. The finished objects thread would be like, I could post a picture of this little guy because I've made this and I am going to donate it to a charity. So that way you can, anything that you're going to give to charity, so it could be hats, washcloths, shawls, toys, anything. You just post a picture of your finished object and just a little blurb about which charity it's going to. Again, I'm not going to check that you've given it to that charity because I'm just trusting that, as I said, we're all just posting things that we are doing for charity. And I think this might be a nice idea because, as I said, a lot of people often are wanting to do some charitable knitting but maybe don't know where to donate it, or, you know, it's good to have an impetus basically. It's not something where I will be in a position to collect things to send on. Though having said that, because I'll already be donating things to the women's shelter, if you do want to send your knitted item to me for donation there, I'm more than happy to take it on, but I won't be, you know, setting that up specifically, but if that's something you'd like to do, please send me a personal message and I'll give you my postal address and I can definitely do that. But, you know, if you look for charities that are closer to home, then you can, you know, donate them yourself there. So either way is fine, because I just really, knitters are such wonderful people, and like I was saying in my last episode, there's so much love and joy out there that I found through the podcast and through other people's podcasts, and I think it would be lovely for us to put that out there further into the world and be able to give of our time and our craft to other people. So I'll have the threads ready to go when this episode launches, so they'll be there already, so go and have a look, start chatting. If you've got any ideas about patterns that either money goes to charity or that are good to use when you're making things for charity, feel free to mention them there and put links if you can, help people to source them. I'll also have some ideas in the like the info bit at the top of the thread. I know Sally Jane and Rachel are still accepting washcloths and hats on an ongoing basis for their Burns unit collections, so definitely get in touch with Sally Jane if you're interested in sending things to her. Get in touch with me if you'd like to donate things to the women's shelter, but also, you know, have a look around in your own community, and it's a great way for you to be able to help other people that are living near you as well. So, and you can definitely double dip for any other knit-alongs as well as the projects for this one, as long as the project is going to charity, but you can definitely use it to fulfill other CAL criteria as well, but obviously check the rules for other knit-alongs as well. Speaking of which, the knit-alongs I'm participating in at the moment, I'll just list off. One is for this guy, was the Fairy Little monthly knit-along, and the July theme was Christmas in July. So, as I said, this was originally for Christmas, but the knit-along was for any presents rather, so it's now a present for someone I don't know rather than someone I do know, which is quite nice. Skein, who is Skein Yarn based on the other side of Australia, she's having a hand-dyed shawl knit-along. So if you've knit a shawl from any hand dye, doesn't have to be skein, you can enter that, so have a look in the thread. The Pow Cow, obviously, with Michelle from Actually Knitting. I say obviously because I've mentioned it before, not obviously that you know what I mean. So Pow Cow being podcast along knit-along, so using pattern and or yarn from a podcaster. So my trickle shawl, just hit myself in the face. My trickle shawl actually has both the design and the yarn from a podcaster. So the designer is Boston Jen from Down Cellar Studio, and the yarn No Makers podcast. So that one can go in the Power Cow. And there's also the Learn Along from the Teaching Your Brain to Knit podcast. This little guy, I keep picking him up, he's very handy. I mentioned last week that I did a provisional cast on for his head using the cable from another needle. So I provisionally cast onto the cable. So then when I did his head, I just had the stitches ready to go. I also learnt in, was it this guy? Something I worked on about knitting and purling into a yarn over stitch. I can't remember which project that was on. Oh no, that's on my Typhoon Shawl. So part of what makes something on here might be one of the yarn overs. Anyway, it's a new technique that I learned, so I'll be entering that project into the Learn Along as well. All of that said, let's talk about our opposites knit along. So that was going for the last 2 weeks. It was the brainchild of the wonderful Sally Jane. So thank you, Sally Jane. And the impetus was that she in South Africa, me here in WA or in Australia, are often the opposite to a lot of the other podcasts because most of them are in the Northern Hemisphere. So we're always opposite seasons with what people are talking about. So this knit along involved basically just selling how the thing you've knit is opposite. So it could be opposite way of knitting, opposite direction, design or yarn from the other side of the world, opposite weights of yarn that you usually use, any of those things. So we had lots of fantastic entries, lots of great chatter on both the podcast threads. And I think people really enjoyed it. And I know I definitely did, and so did Sally Jane. So without further ado, let's go to the prize segment and see who won. So I'll be drawing winners from the finished object and the chatter thread. So you obviously had to finish your finished object to enter it there, but as long as you chatted and posted pictures of your progress in the chatter thread, that counted as an entry as well. The problem with that is, because I'm chatting back and forth with everyone, the amount of times I drew myself in the random number generator, I would have won about 15 prizes. So unfortunately, I'm not eligible for prizes in my own thread. But on to the actual winners. I won't put you in delay any further. From the chatter thread, we had 2 prizes on offer. One was a project bag from Sunshine Yarn Fun, and she will liaise with the winner to work out which fabric you'll be using. And we also had a pattern donation from the lovely Mrs. Shu for her new sock pattern, the Whiz Bang. That is one of my whips at the moment, but I didn't work on it this last fortnight, which is why I haven't shown it to you. But I'm sure you'll see more next time. Without further ado, the winner of the Sunshine Yarn Fun project bag was post number 142, who was Lucy, who is Lucy from Spokane. Congratulations! Lucy, if you can get in touch with me, I will then put you in touch with Sunshine Yarn Fun to get your bag. And the winner of the Whiz Bang sock pattern, and I went and got it, so that's the pattern there. And as I said, I hope to have more progress to show you that next time. But the winner of that pattern is number 114, who was HMGTT, Helen of Melbourne. Congratulations! Helen, get in touch with me and then I'll link you up with Sarah so she can get your pattern to you. And the prizes for our finished object thread, first off was a skein of yarn from Atelier Yarn, and that is a beautiful, very generous 150 gram skein of light fingering in a beautiful purple colour. And a packet of mini skeins from One Twisted Tree from Danny, and it was in a range of her colours. So our first prize winner for the Atelier Yarn was number 123, who is Nawu82, Gwen from New South Wales. Congratulations! Get in touch with me, Gwen, and I'll hook you up with Meg to get that yarn sent to you. And the winner of the mini skeins from One Twisted Tree was number 36, who is Hodges00, Jessica from Mississippi. Congratulations! Jessica, again, send me a personal message and I'll get Danny to send the yarn to you. Thank you so much to everyone who entered. It was such fun and really interesting to see everyone's interpretation of opposite. And it was really lovely. So thank you very much and congratulations to the winners, and I hope everyone just enjoyed making their projects, even if you didn't win a prize at the end. And one more prize to give away was for our 1200 member draw. That was a thread where I asked you what your favourite dinosaur was, which was very fun, and I was very happy to read everyone's answers. So thank you everyone for participating in that. The prize for that one is this gorgeous skein from Query Fibre in the Time Vortex colourway, Doctor Who reference. The lighting is washing it out a bit, but even then, that's a bit better. You can see it's gorgeous nonetheless. So it's all wrapped up with a bow, so that's why it's in there, so crinkle, crinkle. The winner of that one was number 51, who is Cedar76 from Gympie in Queensland. Yay! Get in touch with me, Cedar76, and I'll get that off to you shortly. Again, thank you for everyone for playing, because it was great to read all your answers. Don't forget, we still have some other prize draws running at the moment. We have our first Podiversary giveaway, and the prize for that is a project bag from Knit Run Dig, and it'll be the winner's choice of fabric. And we also have a Just Because giveaway. This is the one at the last episode I just decided, let's have another prize draw. So the prize for this one I chose is this stunning bag. So this is from Little Skein in the Big Wall. There's the tag. And it's so cute. Look at the bunnies and the lambs. In acquisitions, you'll see this fabric again. Just a little spoiler there. So this is the project bag that Annie very kindly donated to us. That's the inside fabric. It's got the lovely tag there and happiness on the ring, which I think is very appropriate because the prompt for this giveaway is just to tell me something you're grateful for. So just thinking about gratitude and things in our lives that we're happy for, because, you know, we've all got a lot of perhaps yucky stuff, stressful things, some more than others, but I think it's really useful for your soul to think about things you're grateful for. So this will be our prize. Enter in the thread there, and we'll draw this winner in a couple of weeks' time. And now we're just going to go briefly into the past to look at acquisitions, and then I'll come back to the present. have a very special guest for our acquisition segment. Welcome back,
Emma.
Emma. Now, before we start showing what the acquisitions are, I'll show you what Emma's wearing. This is something that I made her last Christmas. Would you like to stand up? And if you just sort of wiggle over this way. This is a shrug, and if you can turn around, lovely sort of cross net. I don't remember what the stitch pattern is called. I think the pattern was called Shrug for a Girl or something. It was a free pattern on Ravelry, and this is knit with Jinx yarn in the sparkle base, and I believe the colourway was called Saltwater Ice Cream or something like that, but there's a project page so you can see it. So Emma's wearing that today. This was her Frozen inspired cardigan, wasn't it? Yes. So acquisitions, we've got a few to show. So first up, I had a couple of parcels waiting for me from Little Skein and the Big Wool. I say waiting for me because I ordered these, some on pre-order and some just on normal order, quite a while ago, and they've been on hold with Damien and my mum waiting to be given to me. So first off was a package that my mum gave me. So do you want to show the little thing here? So, look that. This is either a stitch marker holder or I've bought it to be a little shawl pin, and it's the dove design. So you can see this is the tail, that's its head. And Emma's holding for us here Little Skeins card. So there was that. First up, a very cute bunny bag. Look at all those bunnies. See, rabbits are my mum's favourite animal, and when my brother and I were little, there was a little song she used to sing to us about rabbits, so that's why it was very appropriate that she get me this bag. And inside is some lovely fabric, and I'll read it out. It says, real isn't how you are made, it's a thing that happens to you when a child loves you for a long, long time. So I think that is from the Velveteen Rabbit collection. But aren't those bunnies so cute? Which one is your favourite? I think that one's very cute.
Yeah.
Yes, we like both of them here the best. But they're all very cute. And more cuteness. Bunnies and lambs! Cute lambs! I love lambs! Hang on, we'll hold it so we get the reflection. Aren't they gorgeous? Wearing little scarves. So this is one of the shawl size bags. And inside, lovely purple fabric. So that was my parcel from Mum. And now this is the parcel that has been on hold the longest because it was on a pre-order. And this is what Damien and the kids gave me. Ta-da! So this is all from Little Skein and the Big Wool as well. A while ago, Annie from Little Skein was doing a Totoro pre-order on these. So it's a little notions pouch, the zip, so all sorts of things in there. And then Totoro project bag. So it's got the nice maroon, and then it's got the fabric with the Totoros and the cat bus. And it's got May's hat and the umbrella. If you haven't seen the movie Totoro, or the name in Japanese is My Neighbor Totoro, do you know how to say it, the title in Japanese? It's Tonari no Totoro.
Tonari no Totoro.
That's right. And inside, the lining fabric is so cute. It's the little soot balls. So really, really recommend all the Studio Ghibli films. So there's Totoro, Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, all of them. And there's so many, that's not all of them, but the soot balls appear in quite a few of them. So that is so cute. And in this one as well, which isn't Totoro, but it's very cool. This one is called The Year of the Metallic Sheep. So obviously 2015 is the year of the sheep or the goat, depending on the translation. And Emma's showing us the lovely red fabric inside there. And the sheep have got metallic gold paint on them, and I think it looks really cool with the black. Sort of looks very old school sort of colouring. So there was those.
Okay.
For the next one, I have something that I've been dared to wear on camera. So here we go. And I don't mind wearing it at all. So this is the lovely birthday card that also doubles as a hat from Julia, 9crafty11, who spoils me so absolutely that on my actual birthday a wonderful parcel arrived from her, despite her already giving me a birthday present. More presents arrived, so thank you very much, Julia. Totally unnecessary, but very, very welcome and thankful. as well as my lovely hat, which is a card. I got some more presents and Emma's going to show those. So this beautiful brooch that Julia made herself, and she said that it's going to fray as it ages, and that's going to give it an even more vintagey look, so that's going to be awesome. And then there's this one. So can you see in there? It's a sheep. There we go. So it's a sheep brooch, and it's called Polaroid pins. And so get the Polaroid of the sheep and then a sheep cut out with sheep on it. Ah, awesome, isn't it? And then some mini skeins to go on my blanket. So Emma will hold them up. That one. And speaking of crowns, we have a segue into Nina, who is Give Me a Crown. I'm so funny, aren't I? Aren't I funny? So, Nina, Give Me a Crown, has made this gorgeous bag for me, but she's also going to have one as a prize for a future giveaway. So, one lucky person will win another one. And a very cool fabric inside. So thank you very much, Nina. And she's also sent me some yarn that Emma will hold up. Oh, oops, that's all right, the tag came off, we'll get it later. And that one. So thank you very much, Nina, very beautiful. And yes, watch out everyone else for a future giveaway for this one as well. Emma very much enjoys podcasting. I think she's getting very good at holding things up and getting into the camera right, don't you think? Yes. I'll just show you the back of this brooch that we held up before. So this is the one that Julia made me. And I'll show you the back. So stitched by Duo. So I think that's really cool. And I've already worn this one. You might have seen it on Instagram. And so it's already starting to fray a bit and look all vintage. So that's very cool. Moving on to my lovely acquisitions pile. So as well as all those beautiful things that I just showed you, I also received this stunning project bag. So this is from Anna, who's Analog on Ravelry, and she's actually lives here in Perth. And she won a prize earlier this year, and so we actually met up in person to get it and had a coffee. And she got in touch and said she had something for me for my birthday, so we had a coffee again, which was lovely. It was really nice to just have a bit of knitting time in the middle of the day. But she'd made this and just looked at it and said she thought it was me, and I completely agree, and I was very happy to take it off her hands. So thank you again, Anna. Gorgeous black lace there with the red zip, the little yarn ball, and inside, very cool fabric. Very me, very much appreciate that. Thank you, Anna. I got another present here from Jana, the lovely Jana Nav. Just got this in the post. This is by Knitterella. So it's the brand there. And peace, love and knitting cards. Very good message if you ask me. And I also got this from a colleague at work. Now I'll try not to get the reflection of my messy bed. Oh, there's me. Hello, me. Sorry, I got a bit caught up then in the excitement of my own reflection. Anyway, there we go. There's the angle better. So it's a very cool print that she got off the internet with a girl with her alpaca. How cool is that? So I've got that on my crafting shelf. And I have another print on my crafting shelf. This one isn't for my birthday, but I thought I'd just show you while I'm here. So a girl with her sheep. Very cool. I actually have two versions of this. I have one on my crafting shelf where all my yarn is kept, which is where the alpaca one is also going. And I have this one as well on my craft table in the bedroom, which is where I'm filming now. I was also very much spoiled on my birthday with people giving me presents on Ravelry in the form of gift patterns. So I had to look at my notes because there were so many. I feel very touched. So a repeat offender, Jana, gave me the Foxy Naptime doll pattern. This is one I only recently put on my wish list, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, number one with a bullet, I need to make that. It's very cute. It's a doll, but it's like a girl with fox ears and a fox tail, and you use bulky yarn, and in the project photo, the doll is as big as a baby, like they're lying together. It's so cute. So I might have had to place an order for some bulky yarn because I didn't have any. So I figured that doesn't count as adding to the stash unnecessarily because I didn't have the yarn. But anyway, moving on. I also got from the lovely Nina, who is Ine, and she has her podcast, This Old Knit. She gave me the Star Shower cowl pattern. I know a few people have been making that on podcasts. There was Christy on Inner Snit. I think Twee and Kimberly on Twisted Stitches have talked about it. And, oh, who else had it? Sorry, I'm forgetting. Oh, maybe on Stash and Burn, I think the ladies there were. Anyway, several other people have been making it, and I've had that one on my queue for a while, and I know just the yarn I'm going to use. It's one by Desert Vista Dye Works called Mrs. Dracula. Sounds like me. And it's black and red. Sounds like me. And it sort of gradiates from black into red or red into black, depending which way you take it. So I'm definitely looking forward to making that soon. I was given by the lovely Isabel from Fluffy Fibers podcast the Bickerstrat socks. I hope I'm saying that correctly. That's a pattern that's made by Kemper of the Junk Yarn podcast. So really much looking forward to those because they're very pretty. Twee, who I just mentioned from Twisted Stitches, gave me the Wild Goose Shawlette. That's the newest pattern from Paula of Knitting Pipeline. Sorry, I keep trying to remember all the names of the podcasts and get the right names with the right ones. And that one is made particularly for highly variegated yarn, so it really helps lift up and show all the colours, so that'll be great fun. Becky, who is Westerly Whimsy, has the Wrapped in Wool podcast. She's a former Australian expat now living in America. She gave me the Banana Leaf Shawl. That's one I mentioned last time when I was showing my skein of Atelier yarn with the same base that has just been won for the Opposites cowl. And I'd had that yarn in mind for that pattern, so that's going to work out really nicely. So thank you, Becky. And wrapping it up, Donna, who is the lovely Metelli, gave me the Sanctuary Shawlette. It's not a shawlette, I've written that down. It's the Sanctuary Shrug. Didn't sound right. That is a pattern by the lovely Mel, Emsky Knits, and I really love shrugs because I wear them a lot because I find give you just the right amount of warmth, and it also means that a dress that may not be suitable for work suddenly becomes suitable because you're covering up a bit more and it's sort of a bit more professional looking. I have the yarn picked out for that one as well. I'm going to use some Jinx sock in a colourway called Lavender Tea, which doesn't that just sound lovely, Lavender Tea? So that's got really light swirly purples, a little bit of light brown for the tea. So I can't wait to make that one as well. Now obviously I've got a lot of whips already on the go because I have things that I couldn't even show you today, but I really want to cast all of these things on now. I wonder how many I'm going to get to because as I mentioned last week, I am trying to work through the projects I have on the needles because there's no knitting police. I can cast on as much as I like and I will if I want to. But then I also want the finished object. I am definitely more of a product knitter than a process knitter. I obviously love knitting, but I want the finished things. So there's no point having a million things on the needles because then I won't have anything finished. So we'll see how we go. But I might have something of these cast on next time. We'll see. And thinking of things I want to cast on, I got more yarn. I do have fingering yarn in my stash already, so as far as cool sheeping, because I'm not cold sheeping, I'm just cool sheeping, I do have fingering yarn, but I don't have this yarn. So you may have seen on other podcasts or just on emails, the Lychee yarn from Knit Picks was re-released in some new colours, and as you can see, I couldn't help myself. These are birthday presents, so again, it doesn't count, right? So I got 3 of the colours. This is my favourite probably that I got. This one is called Teacup, and it's got those lovely colours in the stripes there. I think they go really nicely. This one is Countess, also some beautiful purples. And I know I bought more of this colour because I was thinking both my mum and my niece Emma love purple, so I thought it's good to stock up to have colours to suit other people when you're knitting for them. And the other one I got, also very pretty, is Wizard. So again, it's got some purples, but got more of the greens in it. And yeah, Felice's hard to get. It's really durable yarn and it's very soft as well. And a good thickness, so it means I can use for my knitting gauge a 2.5mm needle. and cast on a little bit fewer number of stitches. So it's good for being slightly lazy with your knitting. Yes, really want to cast on some of those. I mentioned earlier for the Foxy Nap Time pattern I had to order bulky yarn. I looked on various online shops to see what was available, and the best options that came up were on Knit Picks as well, and of course Knit Picks now shipped to Australia. And to take me up to free shipping, because I was nearly there, like maybe $10 off or something, and I thought, well, I'd much rather pay the money for yarn rather than pay the money for shipping. It worked out about the same. So I got some more, actually no, I don't think I got that one. I think I got more teacup, a couple more balls of teacup, and then one called Highland, I think, which was different colours of green. So I'll show you those when they arrive. And again, it doesn't really count, does it? So today's review is of the knitting book by Cooperative Press, which was generously donated to me to do this review, called Defarge Does Shakespeare. This is volume 3 of the series of What Would Madame Defarge Knit, and that is edited by Heather Ordover, who is the host of the Craft Lit podcast. I hope you've checked that out. If not, I'll definitely put a link to the show notes. So Heather's podcast consists of a beginning section of her talking about her knitting, and then the end section relates to a book, and she actually, either she herself or other readers, read out chapter by chapter various works of fiction. My first experience of her podcast was listening to Dracula, which was really good. I highly, highly recommend that version of the audio of Dracula. You can find it either through the Craft Lit podcast, or she also has a series called Just the Books, which is just the books, and has just the books. That was how I listened to it, because then I got all the story together. So definitely check that out. But now let's talk about this book. So the front says 29 and more patterns and essays inspired by classic literature. This one is obviously all about Shakespeare. So it has, as I said, 29 patterns, and it's got at the beginning of each one a little essay by the designer. I really like this book because I'm a big fan of Shakespeare, and Penny from Happy Spider Knits podcast often does a little Shakespeare segment on hers because she is an English literature teacher and has a lot of thoughts on Shakespeare. I really much enjoy those, so Penny, do some more. I studied Shakespeare both at high school and a little bit at university, and just really, really enjoy his plays and his works. So this sort of thing really speaks to me. One of the big pros of this book is that you just get immersed in that theme by reading the essays, by looking at the titles of the patterns. Really brings that evocative feeling, if that makes sense. There's a few in-jokes about the pattern names and that sort of thing, so that's a lot of fun too. But even if you're not a fan of Shakespeare or don't have a lot of experience with Shakespeare, there's still a lot that you can get out of this book, because there's a lot of really stunning knitting patterns in there. So the patterns are divided up into the genres of the play, so comedies, tragedies, that sort of thing. And each one has, I'm going to try and get this to show, because I'm using Damien's iPad. There we go. This is the cover page for the tragedies section, and this is a little sketch of a scene from Macbeth. That's Lady Macbeth there with the doctor and her maid looking behind her. And you may be familiar with either the quote or the phrase where Lady Macbeth, says, yes, here's a spot, and she can't stop thinking that there's blood on her hands. So that's what she's doing in the picture there. And you'll see she's wearing a shawl, and that's actually one of the patterns that are in the book. So they've actually drawn the character wearing one of the patterns, which I think is very cool and a good way of doing it. So that pattern is called Mother's Comfort, and that's designed by Erica Hernandez, and she has two versions of the pattern, one called Simple Comfort and Mother's Comfort. Now I'll preface this by saying I hope I'm not upsetting anyone by talking about this topic, about the loss of a child. Erica mentions in her essay at the beginning of her design that Lady Macbeth it's been said about Lady Macbeth that she has lost a child in the play of Macbeth. And Erica herself tragically lost one of her children, and that's the feeling that she got from making the shawl Mother's Comfort, was that you might make it for someone who has gone through that tragedy or any other tragedy. And the simple comfort shawl is this one here. So there's two versions. So this is a simple comfort, and then the Mother's Comfort, which is the one that Lady Macbeth is drawn as wearing, is this one here. It's got that beautiful cable there with the leaf and the growth. And that's one I would definitely think about making. I think it's a beautiful shawl, so that'll be on my knit list. Staying on the theme of Lady Macbeth, another pattern that is called Lady M is this gorgeous top here with that lovely lace work. This one is designed by Murray Chiba. Oh, cool. I just remembered that's the name of the designer who was Kemper's guest on the most recent episode of the Junk Yarn podcast. There you go. Didn't realise. So Murray Chiba, and if you want to see more of Murray, go and watch Junk Yarn. And she designed Lady M. Here's another picture, one where they've sort of thematically posed her with a goblet to suit the time that the play would have been written. I'm not sure I'll be knitting that one anytime soon, but I think it's beautiful and I think it would make a great one to knit. Uses fingering weight yarn, so I'll just see if it suggests one. Oh, beg your pardon, a sport weight yarn. So I think that'd be a nice sort of light top to be wearing with that prettiness there. Would be a good one. So Macbeth is one of my favourite Shakespeare plays. Macbeth and Hamlet, it's a big tie as to which one is my absolute favourite. But one of my favourite non-tragedies is A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is beautiful. And coincidentally, one of my favourite things in this book is this wrap, which is called the Midsummer Evening Wrap. Isn't it stunning? So this one is designed by Meg Warren, and it uses a fingering weight yarn and 4mm needles, so it gives it a really nice drapey gauge, as you can see there. So that one's stunning. Quite a big project, and given how many things are already on my list, I'm not sure when I'll make it, but it's definitely going to be on my queue, so I'll definitely be putting that in my queue as something I think it'd just be beautiful to wrap around yourself in the summer or the winter. Gorgeous. Another wrap that I really like, I'm not sure it's one I would make, but I like the way that it's been styled, is this one here. And I'll show you another picture. There we go. This one is called Ophelia's Scarf of Watery Death. Again, I hope I'm not offending or hurting anyone by talking about that. This is designed by Cassandra Devers and Alex Orlisi. Now, Ophelia is in the play Hamlet. As I said, there's a big ties to which is my favourite there. But I love the character Ophelia. She's one of my absolute favourites. And she very sadly drowns at the end of the play, hence the reference to water there. But as I said, I wouldn't necessarily make this or wear it because, well, it's a bit hard to see, but it uses sort of fluffy yarn there. So it doesn't really come out in the picture, but it uses, what does it have? It uses Knit Picks Aloft, which is 75% kid mohair and 25% silk. So I guess it would be like Kid Silk Haze. So it's got that fluffy mohair effect, which just isn't for me in terms of a wrap, but that's nothing to do with the pattern. That's just personal taste. And they've got the little flowers there because Ophelia also has a big speech about different types of flowers. So this one I sort of feel is, as I said, it's just not my taste. And it almost sort of speaks like it's a bit too deliberate with its reference, if that makes sense. Like the watery blue colour, the little flowers stuck on. And look, hey, that just means it's not my taste. So other people might love it and go for their lives. But that would just be one little, talking about pros early, one little con. It just seems a little bit too obvious, if that makes sense. This is one I'm definitely going to make because I have the yarn for it. Here we go. This pattern is called Tamora's Talk of Vengeance, and Tamora is a character from the play Titus Andronicus, which I must admit I have not read, so I'm not sure what the reference is or anything like that, but I very much look forward to hearing about it. The yarn that it calls for is a Lion Brand stainless steel, But you can substitute, it says the Habu wool stainless steel. And you might remember several episodes ago when Mum and I went to the craft fair, I actually got some of that Habu stainless steel yarn. And I'm very much, when I saw this, I was like, yes, I have the yarn, I have a project for it. And I've never done knitting with beads, so that will be great fun. So the description of it says, I wanted to design a piece that, like Tamora, could shift shape. So I don't believe she was an actual shape shifter. I'm thinking about, you know, her character develops and changes, I'm assuming. So the designer is Kathleen Rogers. That's another version there in a different colour where they've used a different, very contrasting bead. So that one will definitely be on my queue. I mentioned that the book has a lot of little in-jokes, and this is one of the patterns, that it does. So these are some lovely yellow socks, and the name of this pattern is The Very Soul of Wit. Soul is spelled S-O-L-E, like the sole of a sock, the sole of a foot. And the joke is that Hamlet has a quote, brevity is the soul of wit, S-O-U-L, meaning the heart of wit. So I very much like this joke. It's the soul of wit because it's a shoe sole. Anyway, it's my kind of humour. One of the characters in Twelfth Night, Malvolio, is told that the lady he likes really likes yellow stockings. So he wears them even though she's never said any such thing. So there's actually a couple of pairs of yellow socks in here. These ones, The Very Soul of Wit, are by Meg Warren. But there's also a pattern by Elizabeth Green Musselman, who is sadly formerly the host of the Dark Matter Knits podcast. Elizabeth recently said that due to other life commitments, she had to stop podcasting, which is sad, but totally understandable. But yeah, there's quite a few sock patterns in here. So there's a really good variety of types of outfits. There's the shawls, the wraps, jumpers, sweaters, lots of socks. I'd say the downside for me, because overall I really, really like this book, and I love, as I said, the evocation and just the theme of it. I really love that. What I don't like in it is some of the little non-clothing items. So there's a tea cozy, there's some coasters, things like that. And as I mentioned with that Ophelia-inspired wrap, they just seem a little bit too deliberate. So, like, you know, they've been given the brief, you have to make something Shakespearean, and so it hasn't played through. You know, it doesn't seem true. But, you know, that's totally my opinion, and that's what this review is. It's my opinion. So, you know, other people may have a completely different view and go, I love that tea cozy, I love those coasters. And go for it, good luck to you. Overall, I would recommend this book because I think the theme is wonderful. The essays by the designers are really interesting, and I think you get a lot out of it. So you'll be able to have a look on Ravelry. You can go into the book, I'll link to it in the show notes, and you'll be able to see all the patterns, so you can have a look at all of them, because as I said, there's 29. Now I don't have time to show you all of them now, just showing you my favourites. I'll definitely be knitting some of the items, and some of you might be able to knit some of the items, either that if you want to purchase the book, but we're also going to have a giveaway. So I'll have a thread up in the Ravelry group. You can tell me as your prompt, obviously the prize will be drawn by random number generator as always, but as the prompt, tell me your favourite Shakespearean character. If you don't know of any, just say you don't know any, or guess, or if you can reference a movie, anything like that. But tell me who your favourite character is and why, just for something a bit fun, I think. So thank you very much to Cooperative Press for sending me that book for review. Thank you very much for providing a copy to give away as a prize. I was also very generously sent the other What Would Madame Defarge knit books, so I'll be reviewing those in the future. But I've started this one because it's their most recent release, so I thought it was good. So thank you again and enjoy that one. I've had a lovely couple of weeks, especially last week when it was my birthday. As I said, I got so many lovely well wishes from people on Ravelry, on Instagram, all the lovely presents, totally unnecessary but very much grateful for. So nice. So on the day, I had the day off work and so did Damien, so we had a sleep in. I actually had a nap later in the day, which is, I love having naps, but at the same time I was like, I feel like I'm wasting my knitting time. That's okay, the nap was lovely. Damien and I went out for lunch, which was great, and then he'd said he wanted to go to the shops because he had to buy some art supplies. And didn't really want to go to the shops because I thought, it's my birthday, I don't want to be just walking around the shops. But I thought, it's for his art, it's for his work, you know, he needs it. So I said, yep, cool, no worries, I'll just bring my knitting and I'll knit in the car or something. But he said, oh, don't stay in the car, you know, come in, I won't be long. And then when we got there, he took me into a shop that was not an art supply shop. And then he walked down an aisle, came back and said, this is why we're really here. And he gave me this. It's a Paddington. Isn't he so cute? Now, I'm assuming most people know who Paddington Bear is. The wonderful story of a bear who came from darkest Peru and was found by a family at Paddington Station. When I was growing up, there was a little cartoon, and it was sort of not quite stop motion, but, you know, it would just show a still picture and then have narration over it as opposed to an animated cartoon. And I was a big fan of that, and I've always been a big fan of Paddington. When I was about 18, I had a t-shirt that had Paddington's face on it. And a slight story here, slight deviation from what I was talking about. We ended up having an axolotl called Paddington, and he got his name because my mum and my brother went on a holiday somewhere, and I think must have been at uni, and I couldn't go. And I had the house to myself and I had a few friends staying. And I suddenly heard my dog just barking crazily. And I went in, and the axolotl that we had somehow floated out of the tank, like to the top of the tank, and jumped out and was on the floor, and the dog was going nuts. Luckily, the dog just didn't quite know what to do, so hadn't picked it up or hurt it. So, you know, grabbed the axolotl, put it in a bucket, and I was like, what do? I'll take it to the vet. So Mum was thrilled to know the axolotl stayed overnight at the vet. She was very happy about that, Bill. But the story of his name is, when we got there, I'm, checking in at the reception, and she's looking up my name. She goes, well, this obviously isn't Sooty, who was my dog. And she said, so, who have we got here? And I was thinking, oh, the axolotl doesn't actually have a name. But I looked down and I was wearing my Paddington shirt, and I went, Paddington! So Paddington was the axolotl. Little story there. Hope it was fun. I love axolotls, by the way. I'll show you something next time rather than getting up now. We have a little magnet for the dishwasher, and it has 2 axolotls on it. One says dirty and one says clean. So you flip it around. So cute. Show it later. Back to Paddington. So I was very glad that I hadn't been, mean to Damien, which I wouldn't be. So it's not my personality to complain like that. But I'm so glad I didn't go, I don't want to go to the shops. It's my birthday. Because we're going to the shops for my birthday. He's so cute. His little Wellington boots even come off like they're real. Oh, so cute. And this is his tag, which is in the story. Please look after this bear. Thank you. And Paddington on the back. So yes, that was very cute and a very, very fun way to spend part of my birthday. And the next day I had to go back to work, so I'd only taken the one day off. And I was thinking, I wish I'd take more time off, but never mind. But a very, very lovely thing greeted me when I got back to work. I was unlocking my office, and I could sort of see something on the wall. I was thinking, what's that? My wonderful colleagues had organised, they'd put up on my wall to say, Happy Birthday, Melinda, and all these yarn balls. And all my staff had written messages on the back. It was so lovely. I was so touched. Just amazing. So yes, that made going back to work after having holidays very much easier. So here's a photo that I took of the wonderful wall. I've actually left all the yarn balls up, and instead of saying Happy Birthday Melinda, I've left up some words so it just says Happy Day. So I think that's a very nice thing to walk in and hopefully put the message out there to everyone. So here's a photo. I've been listening to some more audiobooks. So last time I mentioned that my book club was reading Wild Swans by Yung Chang. So I finished that. It was about 30 hours long, but I got it done well in time for book club, which was very good. And I've mentioned before that when we have our book club meetings, the host who chooses the book also puts on some thematic food. And this was great. The lady really went to town. We had this whole Chinese banquet. And knowing that I've recently gone vegetarian, we also have another vegetarian, and I'm, doing semi-veganism. It was actually all vegan, so it was really delicious. This big Chinese banquet, she had all special chopsticks. It was really great and really lovely to discuss the book with that overall theme going. The next book we're going to do for book club is the new Harper Lee story, Go Set a Watchman. I'm not sure how I feel about that book because I think it's lovely if Harper Lee decided to release it, but I also worry that the lawyer who's in charge of her estate might have released it to try and get money. I'm not sure. But anyway, hopefully Harper is happy about it. I've got that, I bought it from Audible so that I can have the audio version. I haven't started listening to it yet because I think it's not a short book, but you know, much shorter than the 30-hour one I had before, so I'll listen to it close to the time for book club so that it's very fresh in my mind. In the meantime, I've started rereading the Harry Potter series, and by rereading I mean I'm listening. So I've got from my library the audiobook versions of that, so I am nearly finished the first book. And it's funny because I've seen the movies so many times. I expect the characters to be saying things in the way that they do them in the movie, so the narrator reads things a bit differently from how I remember it in my head, which doesn't make it bad, it just is different. But that's really going well, and obviously there's so much more in the book than ever makes it into the movies, so it's lovely to revisit the storyline there. And speaking of Harry Potter, I'm thinking of participating in the Fibre by Design podcast Harry Potter Knit Along. They're the ladies who do have the O Loops shop, and Lisa, who's Saratoga Knitting, one of the co-hosts of the Itchy Go Abroad podcast, a couple of episodes ago was talking about how she's one of the moderators for the Harry Potter Knit Along, and I think this is the 3rd year it's been going, so I think I might enter that. I really like Harry Potter. It's not as big an influence on it's not as big a thing in my fandom as, say, you know, comics or YarnderWoman. Not YarnderWoman, Wonder Woman. I've just inserted myself into the DC universe. You know, Wonder Woman, Harley Quinn, all that sort of thing. Harry Potter's not anywhere near up there, but I still really, really like it. And especially since I'm rereading the books again, I think it'll be really nice to be doing that cowl as well. So you can look at the Fibre by Design threads on Ravelry to get more details on that. Last time I showed you my Frida Kahlo socks that I'd got, and in showing those, Michelle from Actually Knitting mentioned that she has a children's book of Frida Kahlo, so I looked it up and was able to get it. So this is it here. And while I was there, this was on Book Depository because I couldn't get it at any of my local brick and mortar bookshops. I also got this, it's so cool, Frida Kahlo paper doll. So you can actually cut her out of the front there. I won't be cutting her out though because I just want to look at it. But it's fabulous. It's got all her outfits that you can cut out to put on her. And one of my favourites has a deer. There, that one she's holding a little guy in beautiful dresses. And this one she's got the monkey that's in some of her paintings. Here it is, this one, the big deer. I love that one. And its clothes are just beautiful. And that's one there with that's quite a famous painting where she's wearing that headdress. She also likes to wear men's clothes sometimes, which is why she's got those outfits, which is great fun. And then on the back, we also have a paper doll of her husband Diego. And so we do get a few clothes for him as well. So that book is lovely. And speaking of her outfits, I showed you this magazine, The Womankind, with the Frida. What I hadn't realised when I showed you last time is that there's a fashion shoot in there where they've set the model up in Frida Kahlo inspired poses and in versions of her paintings and her types of outfits, and it's fabulous. Look at those. And I love how they've done the model's eyebrows, because Frida Kahlo is quite famous for having almost a monobrow, like very, very thick eyebrows. And I think they've either let this model just grow hers out or put extra on her face. There we have there. That one's sort of inspired by that headdress I was just showing you in the paper doll book. And that's the start of the article. There's one of Frida's paintings, one of her self-portraits with the monkey. And so back to this book, which is the children's book. I'm going to read it to you now because it's very short and it's very beautiful. Viva Frida by Yuyi Morales. I I see. Aha. I play. I know. I dream. And I realize that I feel. And I understand. That I love. And create. And so I live. Isn't that beautiful? So it sort of tells the basic story of Frida's, I guess, spiritual, emotional journey, finding herself, finding her creativity, and then finding her life. Beautiful. So the pictures are just stunning. Mine actually, it's hard to tell what they're all made of. I love this one. This is sort of a replica of one of her famous paintings with the monkey. And the way it's been done, it actually looks like canvas. But some of them look like 3D dolls. I think it's just the way that it's being made. But it's all different types of art that make up each of the different pages. So it's a stunning book. Like these ones here look like they're actually little dolls that have been photographed. Whereas some of the other pages look more like paintings. So thank you very much, Michelle, for recommending that book to me. I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed reading it to you, because it's just beautiful. And anything with Frida I love sharing. And with that, I will have to sign off because it's dinner time and I have no idea what I'm going to serve, so your guess is as good as mine at this point. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. I've definitely enjoyed spending some time with you as always. Come along to the Ravelry group, enter the contests that are running, and have a think about something for the charity knit along and see if you'd like to participate in that or give us any ideas. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a wonderful couple of weeks till we see each other again. And until then, happy crafting. Goodbye.